Hey there. I'd like to begin the episode by thanking the people who have gone to patreon.com/duckfeed.tv and helping us out. If you go there, you can give some money, get lots of cool exclusive content, possibly be even thanked specifically at the beginning of the show, and help out your folks, help out the network, help us do what we do. Thanks for everybody who has gone and done that. That is at patreon.com/duckfeed.tv.
My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Cole Ross.
And you're listening to Watch Out for Fireballs Dispatch, our monthly Q&A listener response topic announcement episode.
Yeah, we are here. It is March. It is hard to believe that we're already going to be announcing games for May. It's just the way it goes. As you live longer, an individual year gets shorter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they all stop.
It's a real son of a bitch.
Yeah, it's the sudden stop at the end. You know, it's
Yep.
not the years falling.
Nope.
It's not reeling in the years. You
Mm.
know, unlike whatever that Dan guy says.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get started here with your questions. I'll get started with James. James says, "Hello, Gary and Cole. James here from a very blustery London. As of today, 13th of March, my wife is due to give birth to our first daughter in just a few days. I have no idea why. You shouldn't ask us." That's the I'm just kidding.
No, it's a different sentence.
Yeah, okay, I know. It's a very funny way for that to end. Like,
Yeah.
We will answer any question. I have no idea why. We've never run at all and probably never will, but it just felt right to share this with you guys. Work has been a big part of my life for years now, and I'm certain your voices will accompany me on many nappy changes and late night rocking sessions. I don't really have a question. Just wanted to thank you for what you do, and for you to know that it gives me a ton of comfort to know that you'll be accompanying me on this big, scary, amazing chapter of my life.
Well, congratulations to you and your wife.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
To your wife and your daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. Thank you very much. That's very sweet.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Only when you're doing the nappy part, listen to Cole, and when you're doing the rocking sessions, listen to me.
Yeah, that'll
It's
probably work out
pausing
better.
that riding that pause button, but I don't want to be around nappies. I have my balls removed specifically for that.
It's
replaced with clackers.
like a little
70s.
office, like a little Newton's cradle.
Yeah, I've got Newton's cradle down there. I've been trying to think of cool, fun things that I could have replaced my balls with now that they don't do very much.
Truck nuts,
Ferrero Rocher candies.
Yeah.
Tiny novelty balls.
like stick shift toppers.
Yeah. Or those things you put in the parking lot so you can find your car.
Oh yeah, everybody should have
little
one
76
of those.
logos. Yeah. You start auctioning off the right to brand them. But yeah, I really appreciate those kind words.
Yes, and I was about to say we're happy to be of service or to help. That sounds like we're expending any extra effort at all. We'll just continue to be here.
Yeah, we'll be extra parenty. We'll try to be extra good for you and your child.
Moving on to game questions. Matt says, "What game has made you do the quickest Grandpa Simpson at the Maison Derriere?" Yeah, referring to Grandpa Simpson walking in, seeing Bart, and then turning around, putting on his hat, and leaving. I tried to get into Destiny the other day. For the record, I have played the game before, so I should have had the base level of knowledge. It immediately hits you with the nonsense lore. Mars has returned with Savathun's ship, the trickster god. Then I tried and failed to figure out which of my weapons was better than the others, how to even get a quest, what all of my ability mods even do. or even what I should be doing. I just shook my head, closed the game, and deleted it. Oh well.
That does sound obnoxious.
Yeah.
I know Destiny has a lot of fans, but I've never heard anything about it that sounds good. Um,
Everything. I don't listen to very many games podcasts, but every time a new expansion comes out, I have to like brace myself. We're gonna get a couple of weeks of at least 10 minutes, maybe sometimes a half an hour of, and so I got my light to a place where the dark is, and my legendaries, and then here comes the messenger
yeah,
who's got the herald, and like no no no
uh,
no no no
quickly turns into a malediction
yes.
prophecy. The my answer for this, even though I know it does cool things, is the Secret World,
Hmm.
which I was interested in because of Lovecraftian connections and such, and because I it had been a while since I'd given an honest go at an MMO
Hmm.
and started it, and just the or the UI, just the absolute clutter on the screen of a constant stream of information of people like logging on and logging off of the server.
Mm,
What the different states of the parameters of the world were like. It just, and I had no, it told me to go to a place. I went there. There was another person walking around jumping, and I was just like, "Fuck this shit!"
yeah.
Instantly, just like, "This is dumb. I hate this," and just walked out.
Yeah. It's hard to think of like an extremely recent example. I think back when I had GameFly, I ordered Prototype.
Oh sure,
Was is GameFly was that the subscription service? Yeah,
yeah.
something where they would mail you the discs. Yeah, I ordered Prototype and I put it in thinking, okay, this will be like a fun, romp around kind of thing. And it opens with just a bunch of really like bad, grim, dark kind of story kind of stuff. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
no, this is taking itself too seriously. And I was out. I
Yeah,
understand it's a good, fun game, and I think the sequel is supposed to be even better, but yeah, it just no dice.
yeah, yeah. And a lot of times when something like that would happen now, it's for a show,
Yes.
and then I end up pushing through.
Hmm.
You know, sometimes for better and sometimes for ill. You
Yeah.
know, Gotham says, how often do you reset games to maximize your run/session? My first time through Subnautica, I got to a certain point and thought to myself, I bet I could restart and do this faster. And I did. There was something super gratifying about being able to jump off of Life Pod 5 for the first time and know where to get the materials, what to build, instead of wandering off and instantly getting bodied by a Reaper.
But
I'm hmm?
no, I just laughed.
Oh, uh, I'm somebody who learns by doing and love being able to run through a familiar space with mastery. That said, I know that with limited time and too many games, this approach isn't for everyone. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you for everything.
I do this all the time with like city builder, management sim kind of things.
You kind of have to.
Yeah.
It feels like part of the loop
Hmm.
for those. Like you. I'm not saying it's impossible, but you're not going to win your first Frostpunk.
Oh God, no, no.
You don't have the ability to. I
Yeah.
restarted Subnautica as well.
Hmm.
For similar reasons. Like I just felt kind of dumb. It just had not done it. And so yeah, for me, this correlates with games that are not 100% in my wheel
Hmm.
house, like things that are a little bit tricky for me to get into. Like I don't always love doing this, but I
Yeah.
do it a lot.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
yeah.
Don't know that I have more to say, so I'll move on to the next one. James says, I'd love to hear your takes on Death Stranding. I just played the director's cut and thought it was so unique and interesting, and would love to hear more lore and what you think it means for open world games holistically, if anything. Thanks.
Yeah.
I, I,
I
oh, good.
yeah. Or I was just gonna say, like we talked about this a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's I'm not I don't have fun with Kojima's trick
Mm-hmm.
very much. I'm interested in the play of it.
Yeah.
Like I think that's cool. I hate how he tells stories too much to suffer. It makes me maison derriere walk out. As soon as somebody says my name is America Goodman or whatever, I'm like, well,
Yeah.
like why is this tolerated? Why does anybody, have the this sucks, I love it gene with this? And walk out. So I don't know about the lore or what it would mean for open world games holistically.
Yeah.
Does not seem to have made very much of an impact so far.
No,
It's
no,
still new.
not a lot of stranding games or whatever. It is not necessarily creating a huge genre kind of deal. I like Death Stranding a lot, mostly from a play perspective. I do not have the cilantro gene for Kojima's bullshit, right?
Hmm.
And just don't have it. Don't feel it like you do, Gary.
Mhm.
And I think that, divorced of that, there is some real cool science fiction storytelling going on there, and the atmosphere and the world and kind of the specifics of kind of what has happened post the stranding are all explored very neat. However, because it is Kojima, he just goes in and figures, how can I very tiresomely use every part of this idea, you know?
Mhm.
So that's a bit of a bummer from a kind of story and lore standpoint, is just like, yeah, just everything is going to be explored. Nothing's kind of left to the imagination, which is a
Sometimes like Conan
problem.
O'Brien,
Yeah.
because he's a grotesque little starfucker.
Yep. No, he's
He's a
capturing
horrible little
people for
hobgoblin.
he's capturing people for his virtual menagerie,
Yeah.
just scanning their essences and such. The play, I really enjoy the play. I like the slowness. I like an open world game where topography matters,
Mhm.
where pathfinding and making slow but sure progress is, I think that's super interesting. It doesn't sound like it would work, but the wide open long distance stealth works really, really well, you
Mhm.
know? And, kind of taking your proceeds and reinvesting them into making the routes, easier for you in future runs is a super satisfying loop, you know?
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's my thoughts on Death Stranding. It's neat. I like it.
I wish that there was a way to divorce it,
Yep.
you know, from things. Like I wish a smaller video game company made that game,
Yeah.
even as like a proof of concept, like took the mechanical focus of it and made like a double A kind of game,
Yeah.
for it as a proof of concept rather than starting as the biggest thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
that could possibly be done
Mhm.
with a lot of baggage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Chris says, most of the time, big AAA games of the last generation were big open world affairs with crafting and a leveling system, etc. Do you think that will be the case for every big AAA game going forward? There will always be niche genres, obviously, but do you think one of these niche genres could ever become the go to for big AAA games? Or will they always be open world just to justify how expensive they are? This will obviously change. Like stuff changes all the time. There
Mhm.
are trends. Um, right now that is what is very big. It wasn't always the case. I think that like, generally current conditions are not predictors of the future,
Mhm.
and that this stuff moves in trends.
Yeah.
Like right now we are in a big open world checklisty crafty moment. We were previously in a single player cinematic kind of rails play a movie
Mhm.
moment. Um, who knows what tomorrow will bring? We flirted with the live service moment, and that's still going on, but that's slowly moving away a
I
little bit.
mean,
Like it,
was two interesting things recently have happened, which makes me think that the worm is turning on a couple of these, which is, I believe that game studios would continue doing the live service thing indefinitely, but a bunch of those have failed, and also that Suicide Squad kills the Justice League
yeah,
reveal got such a backlash, very specifically to just kind of the mindlessness of the combat and the Destiny, 2.3% Batman infused,
yeah, yeah.
shit,
Same thing that happened to Avengers as well, like just in
Yeah, yeah.
superhero games, like that kind of this is going to be these things are getting slammed. Like the worm is turning for it.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely it is.
And for big open world stuff, I mean, I don't know, like there was a lot of stuff on the merits, but like one of the things that, even if people could ignore the tone of Forspoken, the fact that it kind of was just rejected for being a 7.0, or for being like a 6 or 7 out of 10 open world game that seemed to have some cool ideas, but was mostly a lot of empty space kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like from the reviews that I read, that were not even just talking about the dialogue and stuff, also kind of tells me that there's a waning appetite for those. Like even Assassin's Creed, the new one that's taking place in Iraq, or Mesopotamia more broadly, is kind of stepping back from the Valhalla Odyssey, like extremely wide open kind of feel, and going to a more city based kind of classic Assassin's
Hmm.
Creed kind of feel as well. I think the tide is receding. Is
Yeah, yeah.
our vampire survivor likes going to replace it? Only time will tell.
Like, fuck me. I God, I pray not. We don't need more than one of those. Um, also the few reviews that talked about the game that shall not be named, that talked
Mhm.
about the actual like game part of it, also talked about the big empty open
Yeah, yeah,
spaces a lot. I remember that being a call out
yeah.
thing, and the few like
Mhm.
the things that critically engaged with the gameplay part of it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, like that worm is turning, and it will continue to turn. I think.
Mhm. Yeah.
Who knows? Don't know about the future. It's anybody's guess. From
Yeah.
the beginning of the Blossom theme song.
Let's see. Mason writes, damn near a decade long listener here, and just want to say how much I love the shows and appreciate the work that you two have put in.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have either of you played the final cut of Disco Elysium? I was never able to play it when it originally came out, but finally got the opportunity to when it came out on PS5. I was immediately captivated by the narrator's voice and didn't even realize the original version didn't have a narrator until watching some videos once I beat the game for things that I might have missed. If you have played the final cut, are there things that you like/ dislike about it? If you haven't, do you have any intentions of playing it at some point?
I bought it on Switch.
Hmm.
I have not played it, and I can't find it, which is a bad feeling.
Oh
Like I
no.
misplaced it. Yeah, I was gonna Liv wanted to play it, so I wanted to find it for her, but I'm not sure where it's at. It's in a box somewhere
Mm,
because I got it before the move.
yeah.
There, I want to play it pretty badly because new Disco Elysium is holy. My I am torn. The purgatory I'm in is like I want to try to experience new things in the game. I also made decisions in that game based so much on my like personhood that I'm
Hmm.
afraid I would do all the exact same things
Yeah.
in it.
Yeah.
But I still like I'm definitely going to play it. I just haven't done it yet
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah. I have not played it partially because I have an inkling that one day I might stream it, which might be a fun way
Mm-hmm.
to experience it again, through fresh eyes.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just have not played it. Looks neat. I'm down with the narration.
Yeah, more people having it. And the hearing enough people say that like the narration is good is really
Yeah.
encouraging because I had voices in my head,
Hmm.
for like a lot of that stuff. If they landed it, that's great. So very excited. I ended up getting that game for both of my bandmates
Ooh.
for Christmas, and yeah, they one of them played it, enjoyed him. One of them hasn't played it yet,
Yeah.
and I encourage all my listeners to harass him into playing it. But I won't tell you which one. It's my little guessing game. Um, Craig says, do you ever find yourself unable to play a game or had your experience tainted because of real world events? The most extreme example of this for me, as a dirty old lefty, was feeling unable to continue with the Call of Duty games as wars raged on in the Middle East and the games felt like distasteful propaganda. More recently, Resident Evil 3 felt like a rough chuckle as civil unrest and pandemics dominated the news, and even Elden Ring's brutal war ravaged fantasy felt tougher to swallow as a terrible, unthinkable war got underway on my continent. On the flip side, bringing my real world views and experiences to a game like Disco Elysium made it a lot richer. Is this something you experience, or am I being a little baby man? Speaking of little baby man, just wanted to say I loved your adaptation decay episode about Nightmare, which brought back my 35-year-old terror at that decaying face that they use as a health bar. What a wild kid show.
Agreed. It's a wild kid show.
A great kid, yeah. That episode was very fun. I really, this, it goes out to Craig, but like everybody, I'm really glad they got a big response from
Yes.
people who had nostalgia for that.
Hmm.
It was very heartening
Yeah.
to see that. I was like, yeah, man, this fucking owns. I'm jealous of your childhood. This is awesome.
Yeah. Um, uh, for the first one, my answer is honestly no. And I am fully ready to admit that that is because I have not been personally touched by a lot of tragedy, you
Hmm.
know, any of these. So yeah, I think that when the pandemic was starting up, I was playing Plague Inc. as a way to cope, right?
Yeah, I don't feel those things generally.
Yeah.
For me, like something will happen on an individual level. Like I will feel like a specific plot beat
Hmm.
might feel. different to me because of
Yeah.
my personal experience or because of things in the world. But a general concept like that, I just don't have that degree of sensitivity. It
Hmm.
doesn't mean that Craig is a baby man
No, absolutely not.
or by any means. It just I just don't have that sensitivity
Yeah.
for that. There'll be times where I'm like, I'm not in the, I'm in a bad mood. I don't want to, you know, make myself feel worse. I don't want to talk to
Hmm.
clouds on a rainy day,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And that happens. Or more commonly, I don't have right now the intellectual rigor
Yeah.
to deal with this. Like I need something stupid,
Yes.
so it's more about just like how themey and deep something is and whether I'm in the mood for that, not which direction
Hmm.
the themey deepness goes for me,
Yeah.
you know.
So far, hasn't made me stop playing a game or kept me from playing a game.
Yeah. I don't
Yeah.
think there's anything wrong with it.
Yeah. Not at all.
No.
Popo for Show says, with the release of the Metroid Prime remake, I've been thinking a lot about translating 2D genres to 3D and vice versa. Is Metroid Prime a good 3D translation of a Metroidvania? Is Hollow Knight a good 2D translation of a Souls-like? Are there other genres that would be better translations? Personally, I hope Metroid Prime 4 is an immersive sim.
uh, that'd be wild.
That would be wild. I
Yeah.
don't know how likely that is.
I personally think that Metroid Prime is probably a good adaptation of 2D Metroid, but I don't think that's necessarily like a well guided intention.
Yeah.
Like it works, exploring in that game is really fun. I don't think fighting ever is
No,
in it,
no.
and fighting in Metroid games is never really that fun. Like a lot of the boss fights are Resident Evil style boss fights, like DPS races,
Yeah.
but those just are worse in 3D.
Mhm.
When you don't have perfect information, you have things coming at you from behind and from other angles and stuff. I think those just kind of are not as fun
Mhm.
that way.
Yeah.
So like they're kind of different questions. Like it's an okay adaptation of that, but it just doesn't. I wish it wasn't.
Yeah.
I don't think that's worth adapting personally
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah. It'd be better if they made more concessions to it being a first person shooter kind of deal.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
or just de-emphasize
Yes.
that stuff. It just my main memories of Metroid Prime are a lot of fighting, like
Mhm.
a lot of boss fights, a lot of fighting, and a lot of platforming challenges, which are also more difficult in 3D.
Yeah.
Like what you get for that is you trade that feeling of being there and immersion, which is what everyone talks about in this, grand, Metroid Prime is the best game on Switch
Yeah, I
kind of
know.
discourse, is that feeling of landing and hearing the music, seeing the rain and looking around. Like that is really cool.
Yeah, yeah.
There's no denying that. Like that's awesome. It's just
Yeah.
there's a whole game after that you have to play
Mhm.
that I don't think is particularly good
Yeah.
personally. Um,
And I would say yes, Hollow Knight is a great 2D translation of a Souls-like, primarily in a lot of ways because it does not try to very accurately model the combat.
yeah,
It's not I mean, like there's no stamina on your hit. It's more kind of animation focused and your little combo, and the stamina and healing kind of gets around because of the mana system in there that models that ebb and flow very well. Yeah, by capturing the mood and the storytelling, I think they make that's what makes one of the best ones. 2D Metroidvania. This is a Souls like kind of deal. I kind of feel like, in my experience with them, the more they very specifically try to do a Dark Souls thing, the less it holds together, with a few very, basically with
yeah.
one notable exception, which is Grime.
And even Grime plays
Yeah.
very different tone, things like that. Like it's the these are actually two examples that are really good to put next to each other
Yes.
in terms of concessions, right? So like I think Metroid Prime actually does emulate what the boss fights of Metroid feel like,
Hmm.
pretty well, like one to one. It just doesn't feel good in 3D.
Hmm.
Whereas Hollow Knight does not do too much. That like those boss fights feel entirely different than like a Souls boss fight. Like they actually make all of the concessions to make it a cohesive and good work overall, rather than a adaptation.
Yeah.
It takes the flavor and takes kind of elements, but it leaves the elements behind where necessary.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think it is much more successful personally.
Agreed. Yeah.
Andrew says, "Hey guys, what's your take on character creators? Do you try to make someone that looks like you, or do you make a fucked up little guy? Which are your faves, and which don't you engage in with at all? Looking at you, XCOM. Thanks."
I'm not a guy who gets down on the sliders, really. You
Yeah,
know, I,
this is
I'm,
a weird thing we have in common.
yeah.
We talked about this, and we're out of step with people. People love making their person and crafting their person, and then they'll like go on Twitter and show off their character.
Hmm.
This plays into our lack of that much interest in fashion souls as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, we're just not that. We're not those people. I
Hmm.
think.
Yeah. So,
Um,
like, I'm happy they're there. Like, fired up Wolong and was, I'm like, oh yeah, you could do some really cool stuff with this. I'm sure people have done really cool stuff with this. Preset two, please.
yeah,
Give me your white man.
give me something that doesn't look actively stupid,
Yes.
and then I'm fine to go.
Yes. Yeah.
Sometimes I'll make a little Gary
Hmm.
version, but otherwise I just try to make a beardo.
Yeah.
I just try to make, or like an old man that amuses me.
Yeah.
Trying to make it like an old grizzled like Crashmore in a game. If I can play as a
Yeah.
Crashmore, I'm pretty into it. But I don't. It's just not that fun for me. I get why it is fun for some folk, and there's identity stuff this rubs up against
Yeah.
that we're in a real privileged position about. Like we are not incentivized to try to create an avatar
Hmm.
that represents us,
Yes.
given that like a lot of times the default like white guy too is closer to us
Yeah.
than it would be for a lot of people. And that's a privilege, but it is also the case, right? Like
Hmm.
I can't pretend like that's not my experience, even if it is,
Yeah.
there's an explanation for it.
Yeah. So, I always appreciate when developers go to great lengths to put that in for folks who really enjoy it, not
Hmm.
just because I like other people to have a good time, but also because of the representation kind of thing. See the Saints Row for having gender sliders, for letting you pick a voice, irrespective of what body type you've got
Yeah.
you're rolling with. See Wolong, where they put in a great deal of time and effort, not just giving a gender neutral kind of pronoun thing, for English, but also like incorporating that in a bunch of language, which apparently is hell. It is hell
Mm-hmm.
to do, So it's a worthwhile thing to do. It's just for me personally, no, give me white
There's
guy number two.
a real neat thing you can do. Liv started playing the Demon Souls remake, and in that game, you can choose your gender, but then your animations separately.
Oh, nice.
So if you want to, move, like they call them body type A and body type B, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, not perfect, but if you want to move in a certain way but look another way, you can
Hmm. Yeah.
as well. Like it's neat. Like
Mhm.
I'm in favor of all that stuff. It kind of dovetails really well with the next question,
Yeah.
which I'll go ahead and just roll this into it because I think we're going to end up on a similar place.
Yeah.
Maxwell says, what makes a great options menu? Are there accessibility options that you wish were in more games?"
Yeah.
Basically, like I want all the options that could ever possibly be,
Oh god, yeah.
because even if they're not for me, they're not hurting me that they're there,
Mhm.
and they're going to be important to someone.
Yeah.
So like something like this, like these are options that I don't personally care about,
Mhm.
but somebody does.
Yeah.
And they're options I care about, and I notice them when they're not gone. It's people are too individual to try to make a one size fits all anything
Yeah.
for stuff like this.
Yeah.
Um,
What makes a good options menu for me? Two things. Where is the subtitles?
yeah,
Where are the subtitles? If it's under accessibility, thumbs up, way to go. If it's under audio, cool, thank you. Has to do with auditory processing. There you go. If it's under gameplay, that's a
yeah,
paddling. If it's under graphics, that's a paddling.
yeah. I would really love more robust colorblind modes for
Hmm.
things. Obviously, um, game developers don't understand color blindness
Yeah.
very well. A lot of times, it just turns like up the saturation,
No, that's
for things like which can be certain kinds of color blindness. Like that can
right.
actually do it, right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
in certain colors, but a lot of times that's what happens when you flip on a colorblind mode
Uh-huh.
to something, and it's not the same.
Sorry, I just
Yeah.
Just like, okay, no, no, so you've got light sensitivity. Okay, let's bump up the contrast.
Yeah, yeah, you can really not see it. Uh, now, that's my personal bugbear, but I love an incredibly detailed options menu, that
Yeah.
just has every single thing that I can tweak to my own content.
Hmm.
Like I will try things on normal generally, but I love to be able to fuck around with
Yeah.
shit like that.
No, it's also don't come up with cute names for things. Just name it what it is.
Oh yeah,
You
yeah,
know.
and definitely no condescending names for things.
Yes.
Baby mode, daddy, can I have a sniper rifle? Doom bullshit. Like I hate that stuff. Is an option menu nightmare to me. That should be
Hmm.
illegal. I hate it.
Yeah. Oh man, trying to think. Oh yeah, and one of my favorite things that I like is the option to change button matching stuff into
Oh
holds.
yeah,
Yeah, give me that.
that's not even like a that's an accessibility thing, but it's not even for accessibility. Like, what are you testing in me for
Yeah.
my button mashing? Like what virtue am I displaying
Hmm.
by being able to mash a button quickly?
Yeah.
Just letting me bypass this horse shit, this barely interactive horse shit, I think is always good.
Hmm.
You know, yeah,
Agreed. Want to move on to life questions?
yeah. Let's do.
Samurai Snail writes, have you ever had any regrets in your social life that were somehow gaming related? Back in high school, I had gotten invited to a party, which I hadn't known about until that moment, but immediately had no interest in attending. I'm sure it was due to a mix of social anxiety and general disinterest in hanging out with people who weren't already my close friends. Even though I can't remember the certainly lame excuse I gave for not wanting to go, I do occasionally recall the night of the party and that I'd instead spent it at home in my room alone, programming a haunted house text adventure into my TI 83. Although I now reminisce upon that time fondly, I still sometimes wish I could go take back my dumb excuse and just let him know that I'd rather hang out with a calculator.
Brutal.
Yeah.
It's cold.
Yeah. Very, very, very cold.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Uh,
Uh, pe-
yeah,
People
I
don't
have.
need to know that you just want to stay home and whack off. It's
Yeah,
fine. You
you were whacking off. You were playing it, making a game. It was
I know.
creating
Yeah.
stuff. It sounded like you're very dismissive about
No.
programming
Oh,
text
oh
adventures
no,
on
no.
TI.
I'm not even doing
Yeah,
that. It's just more like you don't just be like, you know, you don't have to be perfectly honest with why you want to bow out of something
yeah.
because chances are it's not their business.
I would love to normalize. Like, I just don't want to do that.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the thing. Like, I've been rewatching select episodes of It's Always Sunny, and they constantly do that, and
Uh-huh.
I really kind of admire it. Like, just like I'm not interested in that at all, and then they just move on to their subject, and it's rude, but it's also very like honest.
Yeah.
And you can't do that. Um, I don't have I have regrets that are like social regrets like that, but they're not gaming related.
Yeah, yeah.
Generally. So like there are things that I wish I had done and stuff socially. There are also things I wish I hadn't done.
Mhm.
Like the flip side of this is like there's lots of shitty parties I've been to, which I much would have had much more fun, like staying home and playing fucking Legend of Grandia. And that's not a good game. Like, but I would have probably had more fun.
Yeah,
Jade Cocoon was calling me, and yet I went out to this party and got sick and didn't do, what did that do for the greater good? You know,
yeah.
Nothing. It was not worth my time or effort.
Yeah, yeah. I could have found out the source of the shadow madness.
Yeah.
But
And it's not going to find itself there. So yeah. So nothing I can specifically remember.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Group of friends I hung out with in high school playing Halo with was real close with them. Like this is not very specifically like gaming related, but just the shared activity kind of like slowly drifted over to poker, and I just kind of got less interested in that, and it was
Mm-hmm.
just kind of less fun to hang around and play poker because I wasn't that interested in Texas Hold'em. You know,
Yeah.
I kind of feel like I could have made more of an effort to stick around with it, but also I don't know, is it on me to do something I don't think is that fun?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like it's an interesting question with a broader philosophical base than it initially seems, I think.
Hmm.
where the onus lies for the creation of interest,
Yes.
right? Like it dovetails with a lot of discussions have been in the discourse and everything, but whether it is on you, the person, to shape yourself into somebody who is interested in something, or whether it is
Hmm.
on the thing to capture your interest.
Yeah. Yeah.
How virtuous is it for you to be pliable
Hmm.
in that way, and be kind of up for anything?
Yeah.
I don't know. Like
Yeah.
it's a weird thing that I think everybody has like a stance on,
Hmm.
but it's not something that's discussed very much.
Yeah.
Like
This is also tied up with just kind of a broader. I kind of wish I stayed in touch with those folks a little bit more.
yeah,
Which hard to get around.
yeah. That's also, and that can also be a related but separate concern, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Like a bunch of my old friends, when they got way into pot, all they would
Yeah.
do is smoke pot, and it sucked. I hated
Hmm.
it, and part of me hated them for it,
Hmm.
because it made them boring. That's all they wanted to do. It like greatly constrained the possibility space of what we could do.
Yeah.
And one of the things I think about a lot is that they wanted me to hang out. They liked me.
Hmm.
They wanted to include me. They were, on some level kind of respected that I didn't want to get high. So
Hmm.
one of the things they would do is they would try to have there be like booze there.
Oh,
I have
yeah.
very distinct memories of being out in a shed. My friend Mike, uh, who went by Sparky, which I didn't want a tangent on, but this grown adult man who went by Sparky for most of his life, in his shed, with them all smoking pot in the shed, and him giving me a 2 liter of watered down gin that he had stolen. Like he had taken some gin, and then to make
Ugh.
it enough, like he'd watered it down. And like the thought was sweet, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But it was just, where does the onus lie in that? Like their intention is good. Does that mean that I should have been more grateful? Was I under on the hook to like start smoking pot so I could be part of that social scene? Like it's a interesting question.
Yeah, yeah.
It's interesting trying to figure out what the right thing to do was. And the ultimate answer is like there isn't a right thing to do. I
Yeah.
followed my like 23-year-old instincts,
Mhm.
and I'm fine now.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I can have regrets around it if I want to, but it's not something that I think we were all idiots.
Yeah,
Like I
yeah.
wasn't operating with a full set of experiences and contexts, and neither were they.
Mhm.
And yeah, we were just doing our best. We were just dumb kids.
Yeah, yeah.
I have a lot of grace for, not just for them, who I look back on and I think like, oh, that was very sweet of them. I also have grace for me not being, it wasn't on me as a kid necessarily to be super magnanimous about this misguided 2 liter watered down gin in a shed, which is a very different experience.
God,
You know,
man,
Drinking watered down gin in a shed is not the equivalent of like smoking a J in a shed.
man, just how many parties in a shed? Like, because I had that experience too. There was a shed out behind my college house that we, hung around in.
A
Like,
party
we would
shed.
just, yeah, it was the party shed. Just we were grilling outside, and we were just kind of hanging inside the shed, listening to music.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm. Um. Go ahead.
Oh, no, no, nothing.
Nothing.
Got nothing. This is me.
Yes.
Tanuki Boot says, hello, cool question. Apologize if this has been asked before. Curious when your experience with motion sickness began. Is it triggered by only certain types of media? Do you get car sick/seasick also? Vertigo attacks? I'm curious, as I didn't get my first episode until a few years ago in my early 30s. I decided the best way to play RE7 would be get the house pitch black, put on noise canceling headphones, pour a big gin and tonic. Flash forward to me getting up in a cold sweat and stumbling around. Hoped it was the gin, but that was not the case, and ended up playing the rest of the game in well lit rooms and shorter chunks with the appropriate settings tweaked. Next time that happened was with Doom Eternal. Interestingly, I've met several people who cited both these games as their first motion sickness experiences as well. Bummer to think that I might have to completely avoid VR gaming, although luckily I subscribe to the Gary I Enjoy the Artifice school of thought. Thanks for all you do. Genuinely my favorite podcast network. Shoutouts to Guppy in particular.
Hmm.
Hell yeah, Guppy Army. Um,
Guppy. Huh.
yeah, if you have any ideas for what we should do after Isaac, let us know. Yeah, we're crowdsourcing it, baby.
Yeah. So regarding motion sickness and VR, I'll just knock that one down here first, which is depending on the kind of motion sickness that you have, VR might not be that big of a deal, actually.
Mhm.
For me, I thought it was going to be a huge problem. However, being able to control where I look, like being in control of of the situation,
Mhm.
takes away most of the kind of danger. Not generally getting motion sick outside of like certain kind of vertigo kind of things. You know, like I'm not going to play like the Horizon game where you're climbing the mountain because
Yeah.
I'm standing on firm ground, but I look down and there's nothing below me. What the fuck?
Yeah. Well, this is all dependent. Like
Yes.
I can't do walk around VR
Mhm.
basically ever.
Yeah.
If I move a controller and my headset moves
Mhm.
thing, I can't do it. I have
Yeah,
to
yeah,
teleport. This
yeah.
is yeah, it just depends. So it may or may not be. There might be settings you can tweak and
Yes.
stuff. There also might not be.
Yeah.
And it's a big financial risk
Did
to on a maybe.
yeah, definitely don't spend a bunch of money on a maybe, like, try it out at somebody's
Yeah.
house, first just to see, stuff like that.
Mhm.
But just a
Yeah.
little bit of solace there if that was if that was a bummer for you. No, I've dealt with motion sickness pretty much my entire life. It's only, in some ways it's gotten worse, some ways it's gotten better. But like when I grew up, I got frequent ear infections. Like at a certain point, I lost 95% of my hearing
Mm.
generally. It's kind of a miracle that I can speak given when that happened and for how long it was, and can speak
Mm-hmm.
with relatively minimal impairment.
Ooh,
But
la di da.
la di
Big
da.
brag over here.
It just it can change. It's a varied thing. But yeah,
Yeah.
fucked up inner ears and fucked up cochlea and stuff. Had very bad seasickness, which made like going fishing with my dad on Lake Erie, oh horrible. Very
Hmm.
horrible thing. Even though it would have been fun to enjoy that, right?
Hmm.
But yeah, car sick, seasick, all of that there kind of was there the entire time. Like video games never really bothered me with it until first person shooters kind of deal. Like the first time I can remember really getting motion sick playing a game was playing like the N64 South Park game.
Oof.
you know
Yeah.
Getting that on a rental, like haha, I talked my parents into letting me rent this rent this dirty game, haha. And then the frame rate is so low and stuff is so floaty that it's like, whoa,
Yeah.
that cold motion sick sweat is so terrible. um
Yeah.
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 uh Generally, like there are only certain things that trigger it, but only because motion sickness, it's a constellation of a bunch of different kinds of things. Everybody's case is going to be a little bit different. It's kind of similar to color blindness in that way. Just
Yeah.
kind of personal, different different varieties, stuff like that. Generally, see the options discussion for this as well. Field of view and certain like head wobble kind of things. The more options for those, the better. That let me customize it, make it pretty much not an issue.
Head wobbling's a crime
Oh yeah,
in games. That should be outlawed. I mean, I know I want an option. I'm just joking about it
yeah,
being
yeah,
outlawed, but like that always sets me off.
yeah.
It looks like crap to me. I don't wobble my head that much when I actually walk.
No, no.
Who are these people? Like,
Think about Nexus. Think about Nexus. People are, doing gyroscopic, not like chicken
yeah,
gyroscopic, but your
no,
body wants
generally though,
your
yeah,
body wants your eyes to be level with the horizon.
yeah. It call it crazy. Head wobble as an immersion maker thing is so frustrating to me. Moving on to media questions. Is this me
Yeah,
or you?
this is me. Uh,
Go you.
jo- Jonathan writes, you guys have mentioned, quote, non-douchey guitar before as something you'd like to hear in more video game soundtracks. I'm not as musically knowledgeable as y'all, so I have a hard time grokking just what that means. What are some examples of bands or musicians that use douchey guitar, and examples that you guys think exemplify non-douchey guitar? I'm worried that my favorite bands like Blood Red Shoes or Metric might fall into the douchey guitar tier. Anyway, thanks a million for all the great content. Quackstack is off to a great start, and Gwen owns Bones.
That
We
she
agree.
does.
She
Yeah,
does.
she's great. That show is really fun to do,
Yeah.
and Gwen is a blessing.
Yeah.
Don't first of all, don't have any feelings about bands you like about this.
Mm-hmm.
This is all just subjective. Music is more subjective than most art forms, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And what constitutes douchey guitar is going to really vary.
Yeah.
for any number of people. For me, a douchey guitar is distorted, kind of butt rocking
Yeah.
uh, guitar that does not that is the lead instrument, like that is the star.
Yeah.
I do not like guitar solos or like guitar heroics that much
Mhm.
in a thing. And then when it comes through in video games, it feels extra silly
Yeah.
to me. An example of this where it's like I can see the charm of it, but I also think it's a little bit obnoxious. And I'm not asking you to go with me on this, but like the Silent Hill 2 theme has always seemed a little silly to me.
Mhm.
It's not as bad, it's not bad. And again, it's a little bit charming, but
Mhm.
it's sounds a little like, I don't know, like it's really hard to describe strokey or
Yeah.
douchey as like an adjective,
Yeah.
you know?
It is tonally goofy. It's fun as hell to play though.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and the game is fun to play as well.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, tonally goofy, I guess is maybe a more accurate
Yeah.
descriptor.
No, the part of theme of Laura that I cannot get behind is when it sounds like a James Bond theme song. Uh,
Yeah.
dun, 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 dun. Yeah, I agree. Like especially if it is guitar forward, like feels like it's kind of trying to borrow cool from 2 decades ago. You
That's a
know?
good way to put it. Like it, if not borrowing cool from 2 decades ago, it feels a little bit like it's borrowing cool from another medium
Yeah,
to me, and in a way that is very prone to aging.
yeah,
I think about in Control, when you get to hear a Poets of the Fall song
yeah.
in the middle of it.
Hmm.
And it's kind of quaint. Like I get that it's kind of cute, so I'm sympathetic to the person who's like, no, this rules actually,
Hmm.
because it's a little cute, but
Yeah,
it does also feel really weirdly dated and instantly tacky, I guess,
yeah.
is maybe another word I would use for douchey or strokey.
Hmm.
It's a little tacky,
Strokey, I don't undersaid this.
like
Oh,
stroking off, like
oh, oh.
masturbatory,
S-
pulling your
so,
pud. You
so,
know,
sorry, you said stroking off, and I heard it as stroganoff, which is fun.
yeah, stroganoff,
Hmm.
various meat chilies. You know, goulash. You know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but an extremely fronted, let's say, drop D chugging like dun 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 when it's not in a fucking Doom soundtrack is
It's weird that Doom gets away with that, and even I only really think Doom gets away with it in MIDI
in
form.
play. Yeah.
Well,
Or
in
yeah,
play
yeah.
and in 1993
Yeah.
or whatever. Like people love that Sonic, like new Sonic butt metal
Mhm.
songs, and I understand intellectually the concept behind "lol this sucks I love it," but "lol this sucks I love it" is something that I really struggle with
Yeah, yeah.
personally.
Mhm.
No.
Yeah.
Dirt says, uh, Gary, I've heard you make a lot of subtle and not so subtle references to Pavement songs over the years. That said, I'm curious where Pavement ranks for you as a band and whether they've had significant impact during a certain age or any other point of your life. Not sure where Cole stands, but love to see you guys, or would you ever consider doing something similar to File Underwater series on REM or dusting off Teenage Dirtbags for a curated look back at Pavement's history and influence? I love Pavement.
Mhm.
I'm a white guy of a certain age.
Yep.
Of course I do. I'm a little bit of normie. Like I am a Bright in the Corners, Crooked Rain,
Mhm.
and weirdly Terror Twilight guy. The other records have had less of an impact on me, but I still, still like them, but a little bit less of an impact. They're not like in my super close knit pantheon,
Mhm.
other than those first two records, which I, basically wore out the grooves on, like wore out my CDs on.
Yeah. Yeah. I like Pavement. It's really good music. I, didn't listen to them concurrently, because I was just too young when they were doing their best stuff.
Mm-hmm.
My version of that with just personnel overlap would be like I got into the Silver Jews,
Mm-hmm.
mid 2000s indie rock kind of stuff. So that was me there. But yeah, I'm for them, not against them. Yeah.
Yeah. But Pavement is one of those bands that very well could activate my "why you gotta sing like that, man" instincts, but it doesn't.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I let Stephen Malcolmus get away with it. Like just I and it's baked into me. Like I'm too much of the guy I am to not like that band.
Yeah.
Yeah. They do have really funny music videos. It would make if we ever did Teenage Dirtbags covering one of their music videos would be fun.
Mhm.
Those dudes are hilarious.
Yeah.
Surprisingly for the 90s. Like I never saw their music videos. I wasn't watching MTV at the time that they were about really, or the right kinds of MTV. I didn't discover those until I was older, but they are funny.
Yeah.
No. File I don't know if we'll do another style file underwater thing.
Mhm.
Aria might have been the perfect storm for that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's perfect overlap
Yep.
for us. Yeah. What do you say about doing lightning round and then getting to the topic?
That sounds good.
Okay. I'll get us started. Dylan writes, "What's your quote favorite game that makes you think this is terrible, but I have to see how this dumb shit ends?"
Uh, I don't. I typically don't do that. I will just look it up
Yeah,
if it
YouTube
if
is
it.
the hack.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
YouTube or TV tropes or Wikipedia or something like that.
Mhm.
Typically, I don't get a lot out of going down with an individual ship. I try not to go down with art ships
Yeah.
anymore. That's a I don't. It's just not for me.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um,
Same.
John says, "What game or games are best for getting lost in, both figuratively and literally?"
EverQuest, baby.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. It was real fun being lost in both Elden Ring and Breath of the Wild
Mhm.
when those games were big, new, unfamiliar spaces.
Yeah.
For me, I
Mhm.
enjoyed that quite a bit.
Being lost in Thief's fun.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because you don't have the full map. Being lost in
Mhm.
Morrowind was great.
Oh god, yeah. Fuck,
When
Morrowind's
that
great. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Morrowind is really good about that. It's a weird Elder Scrolls thing, actually. Like
Mhm.
Elder Scrolls games, 3, 4, and 5 are all pretty good at that. Even the
Uh-huh.
ones that are not as cool as Morrowind. Like it is fun to be lost in Oblivion as well.
Yeah.
Just like you're ever like lost, you can always pull up a map, but you know what I mean.
Let's hear. Jordan says, okay, we're done fucking around. Time for the hard hitting questions. Who is the greatest pop culture wizard? Now, I don't mean who's the most powerful or who's the sexiest. The only qualifier being which wizard would be the most at home, scrying through the orb while learning the mysteries of the cosmos and shit like that. I need wizard content.
Mm, man, that's a tough one.
I gotta say, Randall Flagg,
Yeah, yeah,
you know?
evil wizard, but yeah, wizard, old wizard Whately kind of scenario there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, um, yeah, I don't know. A lot of the big famous like I think Gandalf is lame. I think like about a lot of the big wizards are a little bit crappy.
Mm-hmm.
There, Raceland
Yeah. Uh,
maybe
yeah, Raceland's pretty good, especially in the
Gorion.
set.
Yeah,
Yeah, Raceland. Yeah, I like Raceland even more than I like Fizzban or whatever. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's going to be Elminster. Elminster's a real orb fondler. Like if you know what I
Yeah.
like, Elminster actually might be like that guy sits at home with an orb and ponders the mysteries of the cosmos
Oh.
like nobody's business,
Oh God, yeah.
and then goes and smokes a big pipe at an inn, but it's not obnoxious like when Gandalf does it.
And Elminster has the setting is a huge deal, so you
Yeah,
get the Forgotten Realm stuff in there. Yeah,
yeah. The wizard is really the operative constraining word for this.
it is. Yeah.
Because there are more interesting settings and stuff, but wizard has with it a kind of a fantasy cliche milieu that
Hmm.
it brings with it.
Yeah.
You know. Nicholas says, "Do you miss doing WAF skits? Also, which ones are your favorite? I'm particularly fond of the cave story one.
Hmm.
I don't remember the cave story one.
Neither do I. No, I don't really
Um,
miss it. They were fun to edit. Like I enjoyed doing that. It just a lot of the time I got down to the wire, and it's like, oh God, what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do?
yeah, that part was not fun. It was also really time consuming, so it
Yeah.
was fun to edit, but it was also, uh, too time consuming.
Yes. Yeah.
Ultimately, I don't really miss it. I still think of them
Hmm.
sometimes. My favorite ones are all the fake commercial ones.
Yeah.
That's my Tim and Eric DNA. So it's like Whipfest and shit.
Yeah.
And when you're here, you're a family. Resident Evil 4, like that kind of stuff is my favorite because I
Yeah.
like fake advertising.
Yeah. I was thinking about the ActRaiser one, where just kind of like, okay, the god goes away for a while and comes back, and civilization has fallen apart primarily because they worship Arby's. Something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, just silly, silly,
Let us.
silly
Yeah.
jaunts of young men.
let us celebrate by adding beef to cheddar. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Steven writes, back in the Vice City episode, Gary mentioned that he had never played Grand Theft Auto 5. I'm just curious if you have, and if so, what are your thoughts on it? I personally enjoyed the story of GTA 4 more than 5, but it's still an amazing game.
I haven't played it yet. I have been weirdly tempted a little bit because I've been in a gamey rut,
Yeah,
and I was like, oh, that kind of sounds a little bit fun, but I
that's
haven't gone deep on it.
it's real good.
I just kind of want to drive around.
Yeah, it's good. It's a
I
good
don't.
game for doing it.
Yeah, I want to kind of drive around a city. That sounds fun to me, like drive on a motorcycle.
Hmm.
Everything. I just haven't done it.
Yeah.
But I might. I forgot. I bought that. I got that for free from Epic
Hmm.
at some point.
Yeah.
It's in my library. I just haven't played it.
Yeah.
So yeah. Holland says A Nightmare on Elm Street is real. And
Oh no!
oh shit! Breaking news, everyone. Freddy's got his eyes on Duckfeed. What would be the elaborate, ironic way that Freddy Krueger would kill you? Ooh, baby.
Ooh, because I never
Um,
really leave the house, I think he would just start making my house
Smaller. Yeah, like
smaller
in toys.
until it crushes me. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
need more
Well,
space.
of course, like in toys,
Yeah, exactly like in
like
toys.
everybody knows from toys. Yeah, just
Freddy
makes
just
it.
needs a little bit more space. Yeah. That's a real good way to die. It's just I was thinking of like an ironic thing that isn't just me taking the most annoying part of myself,
Yeah.
and just like saying like, oh, I get drowned in copies of Chrono Trigger or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know what it would be. I
Yeah.
would leave it up to the artist. I respect the art. It would be a collaboration when
That's
Freddie
the
killed me.
answer. Yeah. Yeah.
It'd be I'd want him to have his own input. What you don't want is a Freddy who's like the guy who fixes the cabinets in Seinfeld, who's like constantly asking Jerry, like, you want beveled or unbeveled? Okay, just one more question. And he's
Yeah.
just like, no, you just figure it out. Like, I hired you to do this.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about Freddy.
Hmm.
Let him do it.
Yeah, but on the other
Surprise
side
me.
of that too, where I've had a client who was just way too hands on, and second
Yeah.
guessing everything. No, no,
I don't know.
just
You hire somebody for a purpose, you let him do it.
yes.
And that's when I hire Freddy to murder me. That is what I want.
Boy, I really shouldn't have given that plumber that much leeway.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
yeah, you fucked up.
that instinct really came back to bite me in the ass.
Yeah. It's just like in toys. 1992 Barry Levinson film.
Abram writes, I've been rummaging in the Duckfeed archives while listening to the Devil May Cry episode. You mentioned a creature with burning wheels for hands. My ears perk up. Gary says it has torchbearers for feet. I laugh. Cole is utterly confused. Gary says it's a Luke Crane joke and it's a niche audience. That audience is me.
Yay. Yeah.
I don't know who Luke Crane is, and I don't get the reference, and I'm fucking scared.
Yeah. Good joke past me. Burning wheels for hands and torchbearers for feet is funny.
Okay.
Good work, young Gary.
I'll believe you.
Yeah.
There's a question here. So, question: what's been turning your crank in the tabletop RPG space?
Well, you got a good answer for this?
Yeah, I picked up and have been reading a game called Trophy Dark.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like a horror, kind of rules light storytelling game about being lost in a Souls-like dark, foggy woods.
Nice.
Yeah, it's like horror, medieval kind of stuff. Yeah.
I joined. There's a guy who advertised. I saw the advertisement on Facebook where he sends you a random RPG book once a month.
Ah, shit! I need to sign up for that. Yeah.
I've signed up for that and gotten some real weird shit.
Mm.
So nothing that has made me go deep on it. But like I got the Star Trek Next Generation role playing game, which I didn't know existed. There's a role playing game based on The Authority, like the old Wildstorm comics. That's real weird. I didn't know that existed. So it's been fun to flip through. A bunch of them have not had much staying power in terms of like actually being interested. But I think that's a mood thing. Like I've been into modules.
Yeah.
So I've been reading adventures and things. And a lot of those are just, D&D had their big public relations crisis and everything is on sale. So like a bunch of D&D paths, like D&D books, like big campaign setting things are $20.
Yeah.
So I bought a bunch of those and I've just been reading adventures.
Hmm.
Yeah, which is I don't know how to explain it. It's just fun for me.
It is.
Yeah. Ned says, when is the last time a game or series surprised you with how much you enjoyed it? Did it become a lasting favorite, or did the feeling die down? Do you find this happening less as you get older and play more games? That's a great question. The last time something surprised me, because I already had assumptions of it, which was Cuphead,
Hmm.
which I did not think I'd enjoy at all,
Yeah.
based on it being a masocore boss fight platformer. But I got my head around it, and it's not as hateful as I thought it would be, and
Hmm.
ended up actually enjoying it. It's not like an all timer, but I like it.
Hmm.
That's probably the last time.
Yeah. Let's see here. There was no chance that I was gonna not like this game, but here, like most recently, like they've been asking for the last time, I was really caught off guard by how good the RE4 remake demo was. Like a
Nice.
lot of my uncertainty about it was kind of assuaged by the choices they demonstrated
Hmm.
in that first kind of slice there. Yeah, no, I feel fucking amazing about it.
Cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
We're days away,
Hmm.
so yeah, gonna play that for sure.
Yeah.
Is this happening more or less as I get older? Less because of the job, though, more than anything.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not really like just picking up random things to play them as much.
Hmm. Yeah. Let's see here. Casey writes, you see a group of people sitting at a table and they are all Duckfeed listeners. What do they look like? So white.
Yeah, doughy white guys, like
Yeah.
generally,
Yeah.
not entirely, but like, that's probably true. Uh,
Yeah.
I don't know how to fix that.
Nope.
It's we have a relatively sizable audience of trans folk,
Hmm.
which is great, and we have LGBT, that includes that as well, but we have queer folk as well
Hmm.
in our crew. Um, I don't know. I don't know how to, if we wanted to have a more diverse audience
Hmm.
without just adding someone to the show, which we've talked about
Yeah.
this. Like, I don't know how you do it.
Yeah.
So as much as that, I know that Casey didn't intend this as a
Hmm.
existentially upsetting question,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
like, the answer is a little existentially upsetting, and I don't know how to fix it.
Right.
I also don't, I'm not sure if it is a moral imperative to fix.
Hmm.
It's just an interesting thing that I think about a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. And there are only so many levers you have for controlling the people who find you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And who I will appeal to. The same thing, we were talking about the character creation thing. Like, are in particular biases and proclivities, are some of them are related to our life experience and privilege, but that still exist.
Hmm.
That's extant. We can intellectually understand what it would be like to care a lot about a character creator. Just using that micro example like that,
Hmm.
I'm not. This isn't all about that. We can intellectually understand why someone might do that, but that's very different than feeling it ourselves.
Yeah.
And part of our remit is, to be ourselves, to try to be complete people
Hmm.
on the show,
Yeah.
and to know ourselves. So yeah, probably mostly doughy white guys,
Yep.
not entirely.
Hmm.
No.
Yeah. What's Greg say?
Greg says, I picked up one of my lifelong hobbies, skiing, thanks to playing skiing on the Atari 2600 as a young kid. Have either of you picked up a hobby or an interest due to a video game? I
Yeah.
bought an electronic drum kit after playing rock band drums
Mm.
and can kind of drum. I'm not good at it, but I did that for a while.
Yeah, similarly, I picked up guitar because I love Guitar Hero. It's like,
Hmm.
oh, this is like what this is simulating is fun. I wonder what it feels like to do the real thing, and just
Yeah.
oh, it's hard. It's harder, but also fun.
There's that little tooltip that's like, you should pick up a real axe
I
in
did.
like the metal font
Yeah.
that came up in Guitar Hero in between levels. You're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
You got a natural, an instinctual strum, you know?
you you really flick that lever real good.
Yeah. The weird little fluffing tooltip, without taking into account, like, they're very different skills. Like,
Oh,
I'm not
it's
saying they're not,
yeah.
fun, but it's very different
Uh
as a thing.
huh.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest example
Yeah.
that I can think of.
Uh, Gotham writes, what are
Yeah.
your favorite go-to meals to cook? What do you cook when you want to impress someone?
I make a mean chili.
Same.
Been making chili more often. I make good pulled pork. I make good Cuban sandwiches.
Hmm.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, I do a good do a good adobo, like a God, I always forget which one. Carnitas, shredded pork.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. The none of which are I'm still in certain kind of like I do a lot of one dish meals and then
Hmm.
I'll like throw a bag salad on the side.
Yeah.
Typically, I don't do multiple courses or lots of sides because I have a bad time coordinating cooking times.
Hmm.
I have kind of a linear brain sometimes, and I tend to cook things in order, which is not how all food comes out hot,
No, no.
at the same time.
Yeah. And I don't really cook to impress somebody. And a lot of my eating is just food that I cooked or like par cooked ahead of time and vacuum sealed so I can have a protein and a vegetable and a starch and
Yeah.
get on with my life.
Yeah. It's a bachelor chow
Yeah.
scenario, a
Hmm.
little bit.
Yeah.
Let us move on to the topic.
Let
We're
us.
coming up on time.
Yeah.
Not on time, but it is time to do so.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
This one's going to be kind of we're kind of giving ourselves a one that's straight down the middle here.
Yeah.
Samuel writes, what are some of your favorite individual video game levels? Games keep getting bigger and bigger, but there is something to a game providing a distilled bit of goodness.
Yeah. So again, this is like as we mentioned, this is a softball because some of this stuff is stuff we talked about before. But I really do. I love a marquee level.
Yes.
Very much. Like the idea of a as a bit that you remember back when you think on a game.
Hmm.
I like it much more than like so. There's ways like your mind will elide a lot of the experience of a game, right? Like
Hmm.
it's the reason why you can look back fondly on Super or Final Fantasy IV and not just think of tapping through goblins.
Right.
You're thinking of like the plot highlights and stuff of it.
Hmm.
I really like that as a level concern as well. So like
Yeah.
if I think back to Half-Life 2, I'm thinking about Ravenholm.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great levels in that game,
Hmm.
but that is the coolest level.
Yeah.
It's a more descriptive or direct way of omitting a lot of the experience,
Hmm.
because I'm not remembering a gestalt of just kind of a general feeling the game had. I'm remembering like, oh, no, no, no. This is specifically what the game did. And that fucking rocked,
Yeah.
you know?
The best level, ultimately becomes kind of the biggest selling point because, when everything's firing on all cylinders, it perfectly encapsulates, everything that is cool about the game. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Ravenholm is a big one.
Hmm.
For me, I love that level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ravenholm is really huge. I mean, we can say why as well, like not just because it is a horror level that is embedded in there,
Yeah.
but because like very specifically, you're dealing with a lot of enemies, and it is right after you get the gravity gun, like you're kind of figuring out how to use that thing,
Well, and
to a huge degree,
the
and it
enemies don't
gives you
have
so
guns.
much. Yeah.
Yeah, the enemies don't have guns, so there's not ammo drops
Hmm.
really. There are, but not very much in Ravenholm. So like, the idea is you just got this gun here, use it in a playground for
Hmm.
using it. It's full of all like the traps and stuff
Yeah.
you can set off against enemies and everything.
Hmm.
It's just very clever
Yeah.
as a change of pace. It does so through denial,
Hmm.
through taking you and resetting your verbs and limiting them, but then crafting the space around it to like have as much possibility
Yeah.
as it can. To throw like a non-Western like example in there for that, it's also the same reason I love Eventide Island and Breath of the Wild,
Oh yeah.
which is the best part of that game.
Hmm.
Weirdly enough, like yes, it's just you doing the beginning of the game again, but at the point it can show up, it's so refreshing
Hmm.
to have to scramble
Yeah.
after you've been in like post scarcity mode
Hmm.
for so long. And honestly, kind of like, at a certain point, like I like Breath of the Wild a lot. I'm looking forward to Tears of the Kingdom.
Hmm.
There is a point in that game where the magic runs out for me.
Yeah.
Like the possibility space of what I can find through exploring gets too limited.
Yeah.
This kind of reactivates that because it recontextualizes the things I can find as necessary. Like I want those sticks and apples and shit.
Mhm.
all of a sudden. Like I can find things I genuinely need and want and will provide value.
Yeah.
That's something that the level does specifically, the level that's around your verbs does to change how you engage.
Mhm. Yeah, no, just kind of changing, forcing you to put on a new set of eyes, or refined the way that you were looking at the game before,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm, mhm.
Is a real good way to real good way to put it together. Can you think of an example where like the mechanics are not necessarily different, but like the just the overall, you know, atmosphere is a bad word for this, but just like the point where you are in the story makes it feel climactic. Like my classic example on this is the Magitech Factory in Final Fantasy
Mm.
VI, right? You're not doing a lot of, like crazy different stuff there, but
Well, a
it's
lot of the
it's
stuff you're
still,
doing there fucking sucks. Like
yeah.
the Magic Factory as a wireframe is bad. There's lots of blind drops.
Hmm.
Like there's rooms where there are three holes. One of them makes you go forward. Two of them make you go back.
Yeah.
There's no indication of which one to do,
Hmm.
and it's just an excuse for you to do more random encounters. Like
Yeah.
I think I like the Magic Factory as well, but that's the soft way.
Yeah.
It's just because of music.
Hmm.
It's music and the color palette.
Yeah.
Basically, like that would be my example, probably from Final Fantasy VI, even more so than the opera, which is the one that gets called out all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I think generally really good. The other Final Fantasy VI level I think is really really strong, like that, in part due to music, but also because of plot stuff. Is going and getting Cyan after the World of Ruin.
Oh
Uh,
shit. Yeah, you're
in
right.
his castle, like that's really neat.
Hmm.
That has a tone that I think is
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah. Man, that's a good game.
Yeah, it
I've
is.
been I've been
It,
listening to it because of Theatre Rhythm. I've been listening to a lot of old Final Fantasy music, or just like looking at remixes, because there's just all kinds of different arrangements on Spotify of Final Fantasy music. So like falling asleep to like piano adaptations of those songs is
the
really,
music is the secret weapon,
it is,
like
yeah,
in that game, quite a bit.
that
You know,
unlocks quite a bit. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Generally for me, like as a gameplay guy, I appreciate that more.
Hmm.
I don't just want a tonal thing. I usually don't just want an atmosphere.
Yeah.
I want it to meaningfully change up the play as well.
Hmm.
And you can do both,
Yeah.
obviously, but like I prefer that to just this area has really striking music.
Hmm.
And the reason being is I can experience that without playing it.
Right. Yeah.
The
It is just,
it
talking
has nothing
about
to do with the
games
game.
here. Yeah.
Yeah, and nothing to do
Yeah.
with the game. Just the Magic Factory. Like my old band covered the Magic Factory theme.
Yeah.
Like it's that exists in a vacuum, or it
Hmm.
can. It doesn't have to, but it can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Like there are obvious standouts where like like the level is, or the level, or even just like the sequence is the thing that sticks out the most to people. So like the hotel escape
Oh yeah,
from Dark Corners of the Earth. Similarly, Oceanside Hotel
yeah.
from Vampire the Masquerade. I swear I'm not just thinking back to the first episodes of the show that we did.
Well, there's a reason why we did those early, right?
Oh yeah.
Like because they were cool. Like they
Mhm.
were really awesome. Games that were imperfect, but people weren't talking about a lot.
Mhm.
Like the hotel escape in Dark Corners of the Earth is great
Yeah.
for lots of reasons. Like not only is it tonally, like it has an atmosphere. It is tenser and differently paced than the entire game.
Mhm.
It's a different gameplay mode than you've been in, and it also marks a transition of the game from like, I have to now fight back.
Yeah.
Like I am overwhelmed now. I have to fight back.
Mhm.
And it turns out in that game, like the fighting back part of that game is less interesting
Yep.
than the walking around bit. Like it's not as good, nearly as good.
Yeah.
But it's a in terms of just the plot construction of like being on the back foot,
Yeah.
there's a feeling to it.
Mhm.
It's really good.
Yeah. Just the fighting back, the actual people, the enemies being dangerous is most interesting when it is brand new, and when you are being
Yeah.
forced to adapt to it in a very short time, right? Yeah.
Arcane are the kings of this
Oh
to
god,
me.
yeah. Yeah.
Dishonored 1 has Lady Boyle's party. I love that level. Like putting aside misogyny, stuff like
Mhm.
that. Like that is a great level. And then Dishonored 2 has two great level, has a crack in the slab and the Jindos Mansion,
Mhm.
which are both masterpieces of level design. Like I don't
Yeah.
use that word lightly. I
No.
recently replayed Dishonored 2.
Mhm.
Incredible fucking game.
Yep.
Like, just absolutely 10 out of 10 game to me. Um, and those levels are a big part of it. Like, just
Th
marquee.
that's so, so wild because, like, those are exceptional for different reasons, I think.
Mhm.
Like, the actual kinda layout of Crack in the Slab is nothing too special, whereas the layout of the Jindosh Mansion is, and, it's everything,
It's like the
right?
most
The
complicated thing in the world.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, like, this is gonna sound very uncharitable, but, like, I don't know, the Crack in the Slab, it's really neat, but also it's a gimmick level.
Oh, it's super gimmicky, and it's
Yeah.
also it doesn't have by taking away all your powers and just having you swap time zones, you
Mhm.
can instantly escape from anything,
Yeah.
which is as a stealth game, that is a really major change.
Mhm.
It is taking the concepts that you're doing and the narrative weight of what you're doing and the novelty of it. The gimmick is propping up,
Yeah.
the play in that, and that's not something I would like if it were most of the game.
Yeah.
That's something I don't respect. It's real similar to to a Ravenholm where it's a reprise. Like, it's the kind of thing that stands in contrast
Yeah.
to the rest of the game. And I think that a lot of the time my highlight levels, my favorite ones are ones that stand in contrast that way. Right.
Mhm.
So, like, if I think about Eventide Island versus the Magitrack Factory,
Yeah.
the Magitrack Factory, which I also love, is a tone and atmosphere that I really like.
Mhm.
It's just more Final Fantasy VI.
Yes.
Though, so my favorite ones are ones that are like, we've done this kind of level over and over. What about this kind of level?
Yeah.
City construction in Titanfall 2.
Uh-huh.
That's really cool. Like when you're in
It's
the city building factory.
oh, it's so
Uh,
good. Like,
yeah,
it is the best use of the parkour in that game. Yeah.
yep. And just this very surreal environment to be
Mhm.
in, like very unusual in the context of games.
Mhm.
To be moving through familiar spaces at like canted angles,
Yeah.
like that. Suburb is in Hitman.
Oh, yeah.
Hitman
Yeah.
2, big one for me because and the reason why is that that is a globetrotting, exotic adventure. Like, there's a element of those games that is like wealth porn.
Mhm.
Hitman tends to hang around high society, not entirely, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not discounting the levels where you're in poverty, but like, you tend to go in and be in exotic locales.
It's doing James Bond shit. Yeah.
Yeah, and being in an incredibly mundane space that is familiar to anyone
Mhm.
is a new kind of paradigm for that.
Yeah. Having
Right.
access to all those houses with their individual kind of storytelling kind of deals.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I don't know, being able to disguise yourself as the realtor and have 47 improvise a tour of a house.
It, yeah. It's put in
Like,
my
how,
veins.
yeah,
Yeah.
please sign me up.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really good. So it's almost like a good level, almost to be like one of these best levels for me, almost has to operate on contrast.
Yeah.
You know, if I think about like Painted World of Ariamis,
Hmm.
which I love, it is a self-contained level that you kind of go through a miniature version of Dark Souls to get through.
Yeah.
Like a linear like collection of this with the the shortcuts doubling back instead of different checkpoints
Hmm.
and stuff, or a linear version of Demon Souls.
Yeah.
Basically, you go
Yeah.
through in the middle of this. It's the contrast that makes it.
Yeah. It does. Yeah. I mean,
We're,
similar with Volcano Manor, right?
yeah, yeah. Refreshment is really underrated in this.
Yeah.
Things live in their level context, and like, I'm always going to feel a lot of sympathy for a level that is stands athwart or says something about the levels that came before and after, as
Hmm.
opposed to something that's just an escalation or a good execution
Yeah.
of what came before and after.
Yeah.
You know,
I've got one that feels like it is very much like against the spirit of the question, but also I can't imagine a version of the world where this doesn't count. So I'm just
hmm
going to say it: the Spencer Mansion.
okay, yeah, yeah.
It's 2/3 of the game, but it's so fucking good.
Oh yeah, the mansion is. It was going to say I was going to bring that up too with
Yeah,
games that defy a level structure.
yeah, yeah,
Kind of like that make it kind of hard to talk about. I was thinking about in Silent Hill 2, the going beneath the historical society is a
yeah.
really memorable gaming moment for me.
Hmm.
It'd be weird to call it a level.
Yeah.
It's not a level, it's like a sequence or like a scene. This the Spencer Mansion is bit more than a level, but also,
It's
you
still a
know,
space that is designed mechanically and is incredibly satisfying to get through. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
you
Spencer
know.
Mansion's great. That's a holy space. And
Yeah.
I would also the police station as well.
Mhm.
And two, I would say holy
Yeah.
spaces.
Well, you mentioned the other one, which I wanted to a question to put to you, which is also from Silent Hill 2. I think Silent Hill 2 has the best final level of a game
Mm,
that I've
yeah.
played. Just the hotel where everything comes together mechanically, tonally, and from the narrative kind of standpoint.
Hmm.
Yeah, the Lakeside Hotel is so good. There's
Yeah.
a reason why I've got a keychain that is the key and the little tag from Lakeside Hotel.
It's a great hotel.
Yeah.
It's great. The bed's comfy.
Yeah.
Good turn down.
But
Yeah, yeah, great
good,
level.
yeah, good final levels that you can think of. Like, what makes a good
Yeah,
final level for you?
that's a little tricky. Like a lot of final levels tend to. We talk about this a lot on the show. Biff it in favor of trying to like they sacrifice stuff on the altar of challenge
Yeah.
to make a climax.
Hmm.
Good final levels are tough.
Yeah.
There's like appropriate final levels.
Hmm.
Like I like going into the kiln in Dark Souls 1.
Yeah.
That level is nothing special, like walking past the ash and the ghost knights and stuff. You're just fighting dudes you fought.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just a boss run, but it feels good. It
Hmm.
feels appropriate,
Yeah.
for that. And then the boss having this like surprise downturn,
Hmm.
being plink plonk and sad as opposed to you know,
So, I just love plink plonk as an adjective.
getting mad at pianos because of ender lilies. It's all fucking plink plonk, plink plonk. And I love pianos in real life. Yeah, it's hard for me to think of very many that hit all the marks
Yeah.
for that. Even even series I love, like most Resident Evil games, I don't think do it.
Oh
The
no.
lab is never my favorite part
Hmm.
of a Resident Evil. Like the
Yeah.
ending lab is always a little tedious to
Yeah.
me. Um,
Agreed.
yeah, and then boy, I think about other games that I have like a lot of. I guess you know what a good final level that does this and everything are the final levels of Shovel Knight games and
Oh
the
yeah.
expansions. Those are
Yeah.
excellent. They're just taking all the stuff like you literally go through themed rooms where it's like, here's the gimmick of this night,
Hmm.
you know, here's the final exam for that gimmick,
Yeah.
but they're still very breezy. The checkpointing is generous enough that it doesn't feel hateful, and those mechanics, to my mind, are so fun that it's really like it feels good to revisit them.
Hmm. Yeah.
Going through all the different mechanics and then doing the boss rush at the end of those after doing that feels very appropriate to me.
Those, I mean, I've only played the base game, but like Shovel Knight gets a huge thumbs up for actually having a boss rush that doesn't make me want to fucking die.
Yeah, yeah, it's the Mega Man DNA.
Yeah.
The Dr. Wily stage is also a good example of this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do a really good job. Those are great.
Hmm.
Um, yeah,
I'm having trouble thinking of other ones because we kind of run the gamut here, but yeah, I've kind of hit the broad themes
yeah.
that
The
that I
kind of
have in
the
mind.
things that make a really good kind of standout
Hmm.
level for this. And then there's also like individual tropes that I'm always gonna love. Like I'm always gonna like a mad science laboratory,
Yeah.
monster zoo, a museum
Hmm.
is always good. Like going through a space that is not for video games, like an
Hmm.
amusement park or a museum or something like that. That's always really fun to me.
The
You know?
Nicholson's electroplating mission from LA Noir, where you go
Yeah,
through the soup factory.
yeah.
Fuck yeah,
Just
man.
like that is very like intentionally funny and then also funny. That's so good. Like, yeah,
Oh
that
man.
might be a standout in and of itself.
Yeah.
That's a great mission. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So hopefully we've covered some things that make
Yeah.
good levels to our minds.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
Uh,
I
th-
thanks everybody.
yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very. I need to get back to that tab. Thank you, Sam, for the topic
Hmm.
prompt.
Yeah. Uh, let's read everyone's responses.
Let's do. I will get us started here on Cuphead with Gus, who says, I enjoyed the Cuphead episode and agreed with a lot of the criticisms you outlined. When Cuphead came out, it was extremely my shit because I'm a huge fan of early animation, and Cuphead so perfectly captures the look of those old cartoons. I personally have a unique relationship with Cuphead since it eventually became a way for me to bond with my sister's kids. I wanted to find new ways to entertain them, which didn't involve getting my face smashed in with a moon bounce.
Mm.
So I decided to let them watch me play some of the more child friendly games in my Steam library. Cuphead was a huge hit with them, and they would happily watch me fuck up against bosses for hours. If you think King Dice was bullshit, you never had to beat King Dice while two little kids roll you into the stupid memory monkey again and again
Oh.
because they think it's funny to see you in pain. Um, when my niece found out that they were adding a girl Cuphead, she was ecstatic. Now they're old enough that they can actually start playing the game, and both of them have Forest Follies and a couple of the easier bosses under their little belts.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very sweet.
I always love a story of a video game as a bonding experience for a family, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, very nice.
Yeah.
Uh, no notes.
No notes?
Uh, Wheelam says, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. It's been a minute since I've read.
Hmm.
So apologies. You're on the Slack, and I don't mean disrespect if I
Mm.
mispronounce that. Says the frustrating thing about Cuphead's difficulty is how much it clashes with the theming. You're a cartoon. A cartoon doesn't die in 3 hits. It is both the defining feature and stated aim of every single cartoon character to take 3 hits and not die. I think the game's premise might actually be that you're the one non-cartoon in a cartoon world. That's why the bosses can use all the powers of visual imagination and cartoon physics, making so much of both that they're literally the reason we're playing the game. But Killinger voice, not you. You're just a little video game guy that goes pew 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 and dies a lot. I mean, the game's still pretty great, and I know the fragile lead character isn't necessarily an absolute betrayal of the cartoon setting, but I also know that Fleischer's ghost would beat up the entire Moldhauer studio if he ever learned they were doing this in his name. Come to think of it, I'm actually kind of into this situation purely as an eternal punishment for doing all that racism. Sorry, Max. I know you wanted to create joy, but you're now forever yoked to Massacre and the pain it creates. What about a game where you're Eddie Valiant from Roger Rabbit,
Okay.
and you die in 1 hit, and all the cartoons don't?
I
That's kind of the
mean,
NES Roger Rabbit game, but not you don't die in 1 hit in that. You know,
no.
you
Yeah,
do a
it's more
lot
of
of
an
goofy
adventure
cartoon shit.
game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like you drop exploding cigars for people and shit.
I think the most apt version of this is Cool World, where you're annoyed in a
Oh, sure.
in Toon World. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Somebody should make a game of that. Yeah, just kidding, of course.
Oh yeah. Dylan writes, Cuphead is frustrating in all the fun ways, with the possible exception of the roller coaster boss. I'm sure everyone has 2 or 3 moments of that one boss in Cuphead, and it kind of seems like it's designed to be that way. There's a cool community aspect of Cuphead I really enjoy, one where people swap stories of frustrations and foibles in tackling the gamut of bosses. Every gamer is different, and everyone has a different pain point or mental click. It's great to read about how these can wildly change someone's experiences. I played Cuphead for the first time in April of 2021 while on a plane from a long term work assignment for COVID. It was around 7 hours of traveling, and I was super antsy to return to my cat and girlfriend who I hadn't seen in 5 months. Wow. Cuphead was the game that I played to help direct the nervousness I was feeling, and it'll always be associated with the stress of COVID and the joy of knowing that I was finally going home.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. It does create those, like, war stories,
Yep.
gamer battle stories, of like, man, that this fucking boss, which I like that stuff too.
Yeah.
I think that's fun. Yeah, and
Five.
it is a Cuphead finds your weakness,
Yeah.
similar to a Dark Souls kind of thing.
With all the variety that it has, it's bound to. Yeah. I
Yeah,
think Dylan has a point that it's just even if it's not intentional, like it is inevitable with the design that they chose. Yeah.
yeah,
5 months
yeah,
away from your girlfriend and your cat.
yeah.
Wow.
Tough stuff.
That's
Traveling
that's
for
a
work.
lot. Well,
No, no fun. Andrew says, rounding us out with Cuphead. I agreed with pretty much all the things you said in the Cuphead episode, but I think I just liked it more because that sort of do it again, but right this time feels more rewarding to me. Even if I scheduled a dentist appointment because my jaw was hurting before realizing it was because I was grinding my teeth every time I played. 2 addendums I want to toss in. One, I think the DLC gives you a little bit more flexibility since you can do the Curse Charm sub quest if you want to eventually get a super item that I use for both Chef Saltbaker and the Devil. Not suggesting you should have mentioned the episode, just putting that out there. Two, what you should have mentioned in the episode, but didn't, are the unique puns you get for losing at each phase of the boss. In addition to the visuals and little marathon meter, there was an element that kept me going loss after loss. I will be filing a notice with the Better Podcasting Bureau post haste.
Oh God,
I don't
no.
even, I don't even
Oh,
remember those.
we can't we can't get in bad with those guys again. We we
I don't.
we don't
I'm
have the
I'm King Kong,
strikes.
motherfucker. You fight me,
Oh,
Bureau. I don't. I'm gonna take them on.
dude,
I don't give a shit.
your address isn't registered with them. They send really big guys out.
I have replaced my balls with guns. Individual tiny little 9 millimeters. I don't, Ninas, as I call them in Snoop Dogg speak. I've got 2 Ninas in the sack, and I'm ready to attack. My eyes are as red as the sun, and I am not going to fuck around with that bureau for one more minute. I don't even remember these. I'm sure it happened, but I was so
Yeah.
frustrated when I lost. I just wanted to restart as soon as possible.
Yeah, I got a sense for how far my for how far I was through a phase, and then I just mashed through.
Yeah, get
I do
this off
like
my screen.
there were some of them that I remember, but they're cute. I'm happy they're there. It just
Yeah,
didn't stick out enough to mention.
it's better than the alternative.
Yes,
I just I just wanted to get back into it. I'm a guy who, when I lose, I want to be able to rapidly try again,
yes,
as fast as possible.
please.
Oh.
No. Moving on to the coin game. The coin game got a big response, Gary.
I saw that. That's great.
Yeah.
That's very encouraging.
Sam writes, it doesn't have the atmosphere of the coin game, but a similar game I've played a bit of is Tower Unite. It's similarly based around arcade games, but it's an online game like VR Chat or Second Life. The character models come from the Steam Workshop. You use the points from playing the games to decorate a virtual condo, and there's a movie theater where you watch YouTube videos.
Aw.
I wouldn't recommend it over the coin game, but having a few beers while I dressed like Kiryu Kazuma and watching a bootleg copy of Coraline was a cherished gaming experience.
Oh,
That
that's
sounds
great.
rad.
Yeah, that's very sweet.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
I never heard of that. Anthony says, I thought you might appreciate this story that your coverage on the coin game reminded me of. When I was about 10 years old, I went to a carnival with my older sister and 2 of our cousins. We were playing the balloon popping game that shows up in the coin game, and my sister decided, for whatever reason, to hurl the dart sideways like a baseball at the wall of balloons to see if she could somehow pop multiple. What ended up happening was that, against all odds, the dart ricocheted off a balloon and came flying back at us. It lodged itself in my forearm about an inch deep, leading to one of the biggest "don't tell mom" moments of my childhood, as my cousin just laughed and the carny handed me a single band-aid before moving the line forward. I bled like crazy and still have a scar on my forearm to this day, 20 years later, to show for it. Mom did, of course, find out when she saw me, and it's both a fun family story and also some deep-seated trauma that makes me avoid staying near these booths at carnivals. That's great. The carny wouldn't even give you, like, I feel like you should get a tiny stuffed hot dog or cocaine mirror or something for
Yeah.
that, you know?
I'm surprised they don't keep forums like, okay, if you accept this prize, you can't sue.
Yeah,
Also,
like,
good luck suing me because I don't have a fixed address.
I don't have a fixed address. You don't even know my name. You know, like, no one does. Like, I'm ephemeral. This is some Ravenloft shit. I came with the carnival.
Oh God. I love that little kid innovation. Like, I figured this out. I'm gonna do it. And then
That's
just
great.
throwing.
And it just backfires immensely. That's
and
phenomenal.
yeah, a very good story. Thank you.
Mhm.
Vivian writes, I'm so excited for your show on this. I've listened to the abject suffering for it multiple times, and I adore the game and its jank so much. Be sure to try out the Christmas beta if it's still up. It covers the island in snow and adds a mall. It also has a no clip mode. Press C, so you can see all the secret weird stuff in the game. If you're ever in the mood for some GameFAQs gold, the Steam forums for this game, particularly the pinned game suggestions topic, has some great nuggets. There's someone who I can only assume is a child that posts wonderful suggestions like, I have a suggestion for you, Kevin. Take a break, do some swimming, or take a rest. And if you like them, then you might like it if you do something good, do biking somewhere, or you can just watch a movie. That's very sweet.
Very sweet.
The only major addition I'd love to see in the game at this point is some retro styled arcade cabinets. There's enough enthusiasm behind this game that I'm sure he could crowdsource some at this point.
Yeah. I didn't know about the no clip.
Yeah.
I played the Christmas update and went to the mall and tried to peek through the curtains of the movie theater.
Mm.
I gotta get back on it. I'll go there today and just like look around with no clip. That's awesome.
You call yourself a fan of the coin game.
I didn't think to press C. It was curious of me to not just press a random button to
I
find a
know, right?
secret. Um, the That's awesome. There are retro games being added to it now. There are already a couple.
Hmm.
I do want outsourcing the development of those seems like a good idea
Hmm.
to me. The Space Invaders clone is just fine in there. The pinball is not very good. Having good retro games in this would be pretty rad.
It's just the physics based stuff seems to be the developers' kind of
Yeah,
enthusiasm, like
yeah,
their competency for it. So
yeah. It'd be cool to have. I want the full childhood simulator.
please.
Yeah, very cool.
Oh man, Tower Unite looks rad as hell.
I
Sorry.
also have that up in a window, and that does look really really neat.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Dylan says, one of the better memories of my childhood is when my mom took me on a surprise trip to Dave and Buster's when I was 10 or 11. It was my first time at Dave and Buster's, and I remember being totally in awe and a little bit overwhelmed by all the fun decisions that awaited me. I played a whole lot of that Jurassic Park shooter game where you set a facsimile of the park Jeep. I also discovered a surprising talent for those games where you need to press the button to stop a light on
Hmm.
certain rewards. The coin game captures this memory so well. Just having fun and being in an arcade with no restrictions other than wherever I want to leave or exit out of Steam. But more than the physical location of the memory, it's surprisingly good at capturing the feeling memory of being a child in an arcade. At the risk of sounding esoteric, Tim O'Brien's book, The Things They Carried, describes how sometimes the story truth can be more real than the actual truth. In other words, it sometimes better serves a work of art to modify the real truth if telling the real truth really wouldn't show what it felt like to be there. How is this related to a physics sim of an arcade? It reminds me of what it felt like to have childhood joy and wonder, not worrying about how much money it costs for every play. It felt like endless fun, knowing I could enjoy any game while pizza waited for me out in the back. Were the coins actually endless? Of course not. Did they feel like they were? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, well put.
Good response. It feels like the things they carried came up recently on something else we recorded, but I may just be mixing up. I may be making up memories. So
Yeah, unsure.
yeah.
The yeah,
I really hope you washed your hands after playing that Jurassic Park game.
there's a lot of teen semen. That's where
Yeah.
teens get pregnant in that cabinet.
Yeah,
So
with a little curtain there. Yeah, I put it together that there's a very good possibility that if somebody was conceived in one of those cabinets, they've already graduated college.
oh yeah, and they're on the fast track to the presidency.
Bound for greatness.
Yeah, they're absolutely bound for greatness. The kind of civil servant that's conceived in a Jurassic Park cabinet, the world is not ready for.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Otherwise, other than telling you, just go wash your hands now, just to be sure.
sure.
I've got no notes. You're right. The capturing the feeling, I think, is the biggest
It,
the biggest
it's
thing
it's a
here.
great it's a great thing to aim for, and it's a thing that I think that games miss a lot. The
Hmm.
other example I think about a lot with this is a retro game challenge,
Yeah.
which does a lot to try to capture a emotional truth, a story truth, as opposed to just like what things actually were.
Hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed. Moving on to Mark and the Ninja. Autumn writes, Mark of the Ninja was the first game where I understood that stealth could be interesting. I've always struggled with one thing, though. If a stealth game has collectibles, I'm not incentivized to find my own path so much as explore every nook and cranny. The newer Deus Ex games have this problem because they award experience for exploration. Do you think stealth games and immersive sims are better with a plethora of optional objectives?
To me I get the similarity. To me they're different because in Deus Ex there can be intrinsic joy to exploring a different path.
Hmm.
So like, and there'll be non-collectible things. So in Deus Ex I need to get into the server room. I can go in through the floor or the ceiling, both of which might have interesting, might just be interesting spaces.
Hmm.
They also might just have like ammo and pickups and things I want.
Yeah.
The thing with Mark of the Ninja is that like a lot of times they were just collectibles, or I needed to get a certain number of collectibles to get the honor points for things
Hmm.
I didn't want. And the any room basically looked like another in Mark of the Ninja to me. So like going through a higher room or a lower room might have different tactical concerns, but it's just very wireframe
Yeah.
to me. So like I think that in general, for me it just depends. I think
Hmm.
I need more than just these paths are identical, but um, one they have one has a collectible and one doesn't.
Yeah.
But a little bit more can bridge that gap for me.
Hmm. Agreed.
Yeah, if that makes
Y-
sense.
Yeah. No, I don't have anything to add.
No. Moving on to Sean says, when I first played Mark of the Ninja, I really enjoyed its slow, methodical pace that gave you time to consider every move before executing your plan and your enemies. After I finished the game, I decided to watch some Let's Plays, and then I realized that my laptop hadn't been up to scratch. I'd been playing the game at half speed.
Oh no.
Nevertheless, it was still a very enjoyable experience and a testament to the core mechanics of the game. Me with Arkham Asylum, the first time I played it on my old computer where everything was like at 75% speed and I didn't really realize it.
Huh.
I just thought it was a slow game. So
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to picture what I think half speed Mark of the Ninja would be too slow for me.
it'd be a little rough,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, but if you don't know,
Yeah.
it's interesting the way that works, right? Like if you don't know what proper speed is,
Yeah.
you can just feel like a game is slow,
Hmm.
without anything to compare it to.
Andrew writes, when I first started playing Mark of the Ninja, I really did not like it. The levels felt too long for a sandbox approach, and checkmarks too infrequent to work as predetermined challenge rooms. Once I got more abilities, though, it started to click for me. I get that you're supposed to go back and use the abilities you got to perfect earlier levels, but that feels kind of presumptuous to me. At the very least, I think it might have been worth letting you stealth kill from any angle right from the go, as long as you were undetected and in range. The story also was a total dud to me. Along with the visuals, it felt like an also ran Jackie Chan adventures. There were moments where everything came together and really sang, and I felt like I was making a specific plan and executing it. But they felt almost more by accident than on purpose. Because if they were on purpose, why not just make a whole game out of the black box or fun, flexible challenges with multiple approaches?
Yeah, I largely agree.
Hmm.
The story and aesthetics of this did very little for me. I also think that the upgrade system sucks, and they should have just had all that stuff from the beginning. Um, I found more of the situations fun,
Hmm.
I think, than Andrew did. Like more of it was the black box, but
Yeah.
it was a black box that was poorly decorated, and the metaphor falls down. But
Hmm.
aesthetically, the aesthetic and fluff stuff didn't never really worked for me
Right.
in it, personally.
Hmm.
But yeah, largely agree.
Yeah.
Patcha says, I really enjoyed Mark of the Ninja when it initially released and played it into the ground. A few months ago, I came back to the remastered version and found that while I liked it, I wasn't as keen on it as I was before. Sure, I finished the game over a few sittings, but I didn't go back and replay the levels over and over. Having played a lot of 2D games in the intervening decade, I think Mark's slightly sticky and slow controls that make it a good stealth puzzler detract from the game as a way to pursue pure flow state. All the good Metroidvanias and action platformers that have crowded the indie space since then really make Mark of the Ninja show its age, in my opinion.
Yeah. There were times where the stickiness of the walls did fuck me up.
Oh yeah, I stuck to shit all the time
Yeah.
on accident, like Metal Gear Solid 2
Hmm.
levels of accidentally going into postures, sticking to things, falling on things, like doing
Yeah.
actions you'd never do in real life on accident,
Not doing an awful lot of pressing up against walls.
and certainly not on accident. You know, like, if I press up against a wall, it's very on purpose. You know, no,
Yeah. No, but
uh,
I can see that comparison. Yeah, or I can see that that remark about kind of newer. I mean, like even at the time, like just a 2D, a side scrolling 2D game was pretty out of fashion.
Yeah.
like indie stuff was just kind of getting ramped up in 2012, to a degree. Especially popular indie stuff. Yeah, no, it's the form has been advanced.
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah.
That would be my opinion. What do people say about Crisis?
Yeah. Crisis here. We have Malachi. I believe that's how that's pronounced. If it's not, I'm sorry. Crisis is a game I've always wanted to play, but never got around to it. You guys announcing it for the show finally gave me an excuse. I think Crisis is one of those games that I just missed the bus on. I'm sure at the time it was revolutionary, but for me in 2023, it's a pretty game with middling gameplay. From what I heard about the game before, being a super soldier in power armor, I expected the game to be a power fantasy, but instead I felt like I had to make my choices very carefully or die really quickly. I feel like the energy bar was just too small to really make me feel empowered. Who knows though? Maybe I just suck at the game. Best part was picking up the frogs though.
You do get to toss a frog.
Ah man, I never tried to pick up a frog. I was throwing dirt.
You can toss anything in that game.
Mm.
It's a great little immersive thing. Like, I don't exercise my power to throw a turtle
Hmm.
very often, but I like that I can in real life. And similar to like turning a faucet in Duke Nukem 3D or whatever,
Hmm.
I like a game that allows me to throw a turtle even if I don't do it.
Do you
You know?
think a turtle would like it if you skipped it across a pond like a stone?
Nope. I
Okay.
think it would be absolutely an abject terror.
Okay.
I don't think animals like almost anything we do to them. Like a domesticated pet likes it, they'll let you know what they like. Anything else you're doing to an animal, they probably don't like it.
But what if like I got like more than 3 skips off of it? Like just a real A plus, just
I'd be
would
impressed.
it wouldn't be like a roller coaster thrill for them?
No, the other turtles might be impressed. I think the
Okay.
turtle living it would not know whether it was going to live or die.
Okay.
You know,
Okay. Huh. Well, I mean,
um,
but if he survived, he would be real popular and get lots of turtle ladies, right?
he might get lots of dirt trim.
Mm,
Yeah, who knows?
mm.
It's tricky. We should do this. We need to do an A/B experiment. We need to go to the least ethical pet store that we can find, and then find the most unregulated lake in America, and become YouTube sensations as Logan Paul 2 and 3, the turtle torturers, who are famous on YouTube for how much they hate turtles.
Which is
Like,
unfair because I love turtles.
yeah, well, you just not torture them.
Okay. Well, that's your
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah. The honorable men can differ. And then finally, Kieran says, hey guys, been ravenously listening to your shows for about a year now. First time writing in a response. Growing up, my dad was really into building cutting edge computers, and I have fond memories of him showing me Half Life 2 and other mid 2000s classics when I was a young child. When Crisis was touted as the most intense game to run at the time, he immediately jumped on board and upgraded his rig to run it. He put together a massive water cooled tower complete with non conductive UV reactive fluid that glowed blue, even when he spilled a good amount of it on the carpet. But aside from the graphical intensity, I don't remember Crisis being that satisfying itself to play, with some immersive sim elements, fine shooting, and subtle nouveau red scare messaging. Looking forward to hearing the episode on it.
Your
Yeah,
dad
basically
sounds awesome.
that
That's a real good dude's rock thing.
that does rock. I want to spill some glowing shit on the carpet,
Yeah.
or at least see it. You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
That sounds cool.
What could it hurt?
Yeah,
Probably Pocket and Jessica, but
yeah,
yeah.
sadly. Hopefully not.
Hmm. And
Yeah.
you're pretty right. You're pretty right about the play. Like
Yeah.
both of these folks are.
Again, you're under no don't have to play it.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, yeah. I do not have to hand it to Crisis. There are a lot of other games where you can get the same thing but way better.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Thanks everybody for writing in. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
you.
It's a good time. Would we like to announce the upcoming games, Gary?
We would, with the first caveat that if you have things to say about April's games, write
Yes.
into duckfeed.tv/contact. Those are Ender Lily's Quietest of the Nights, The Sexy Brutale, and The Quarry.
Hmm.
Yes.
Looking forward to those. And in May, if you have thoughts about these games, write in by May the 15th. Again, duckfeed.tv/contact. The first of which is going to be Norco.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Orko's brother,
Hmm.
the
Uh,
big
sci
adventure game.
Yeah,
Uh,
sci-fi point and click mystery adventure game. They got lots and lots of plaudits.
yeah,
Folks really seem to dig it, and so throwing it on made sense.
a lot of have you played this?
Yes.
So looking forward to that. After that, we're doing a patron request. We're doing The Bard's Tale. Uh,
Yeah.
I'm fascinated and scared by the idea of doing this. It is an old CRPG, like dungeon crawler, first person CRPG.
Hmm.
It's one I've heard a lot about. It's really interesting. The
Yeah.
creator behind it is very interesting. He's somebody who his faith like informs
Hmm.
his story. There's an interview Jeremy Parrish did with him a long time ago. He is a Christian man.
Hmm.
It is not a Christian game, but it is a thing where it comes through
Yeah.
and the theming and stuff. And it's a big blind spot for me.
Yeah.
You know,
So we're not doing the 2004 like Baldur's
Mhm.
Gate Dark Alliance alike. That no, we're not
No,
doing
no, no.
that. This
Yeah,
is we're probably gonna play the remastered version of the first one.
yeah.
Yeah.
The collector's edition where they put them all together.
Yeah.
They put them all together with 1, 2, and 3. We'll see how we're doing. We're probably gonna do one, not do the whole trilogy
Hmm.
of these because that's a lot of game.
That's a lot. Yeah.
It's quite a bit of game. We pick the other games around it to be
Hmm.
short, but also that might be more than we can do. We'll probably
Yes.
talk about them though. I'm planning on reading about it.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'm excited. It's not something that we've done very much.
Right.
Like we haven't really done that genre, like a first person blobber kind of thing,
Yeah.
you know? And then what are we doing for the premium episode?
Our premium episode for that month is going to be Super Mario Bowser's Fury.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is a Gary pick.
Mhm.
This is my favorite 3D Mario game.
Mhm.
It is, I think it's everything good about Mario 64, but in 6 hours.
Yep.
And and better than
Yeah.
personally.
Mhm.
So kind of a weird product. It is a miniature game that came with the remake of 3D World, which we have already covered.
Mhm.
But this game is worthy on its own.
Very much so.
You know, biggest recommendation for me.
Yeah.
It is one of my favorite Switch games.
No, it's
Bowser's Fury specifically.
it's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm very excited to play it.
yeah,
So yeah.
it's really good. Cannot
Mhm.
wait to revisit.
So yeah. April 5th to write in about those. If you have thoughts about multiple games, please separate them into multiple responses. It is greatly appreciated.
Yeah. The other things you can do to help us out is go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. Giving us $5 a month gets you those premium episodes. So Bowser's Fury and The Quarry, all of our past premium episodes, a bunch of bonus shows, and supports us.
Mhm. Yeah.
Very, very appreciated.
Yeah. Also appreciate it would be if you rated, reviewed, or subscribed wherever you do your podcast stuff. All of that
Yeah.
is helpful for us.
Yeah. And also appreciated is Gwen Static, our
Yes.
producer.
Our producer. Thank you so much for your great work.
Yeah, we appreciate you. Yeah, and we'll see you next week
We will.
with
Uh,
Ender Lilies. Plink
ooh,
plonk, plink plonk.
blink blonk. Splish splash in the bucket.